Welcome to the EarthWorks podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon from many of our turf friends from the past 30 years.
Hello all, and welcome to the EarthWorks podcast. This week I'm hosting Jack Higgins, and I've got the pleasure of having Chris May on board. Chris from the Georgia Tech in Atlanta. He's the director of athletic grounds. Chris, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, this is great. I'm psyched to have you on because we don't get to, we don't have a lot of people in the sports turf world on often, and you're an excellent, well-known guy in this industry. I was thinking you've come up through the sports turf world in Georgia for a while now, right?
Yeah, I got my start here. I worked on a golf course in Louisiana for a little bit right when I first got in. But I think in around 2003, I started with a company that did field construction here, based out of Kennesaw, so just north of Atlanta. But I've spent time in Atlanta. I've spent time in Macon, about an hour and a half south of town at Mercer University. And then before that, I was down at Florida Atlantic for 3 years, and that's in Boca Raton, Florida.
Okay.
But the majority of my career has been in Georgia.
And where'd you grow up, Chris?
I grew up in Atlanta. So kind of nice to be, at home.
Yes. How about, where'd you go to school? College?
So that's kind of my background's kind of untraditional in the newer world now, I guess. I never finished school. Started working. It's funny, I was working at Home Depot. This is great.
Right.
So working at Home Depot, nighttime lumber manager, just unloading trucks. I was probably 21 years old, didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life. And I had worked on a golf course before. My dad, at the time, was booster club president for our high school baseball team, our local high school.
Okay.
They were having some field work done. And he went up to the guy that was doing the work and was like, "Can you get my kid a job? Like, I need this guy to get on track. I don't know what he's doing with his life." So they hired me, and it became a pretty good fit right away. And then I worked my way up through that company, and that's what took me down to South Florida.
And is that the construction company that you mentioned?
Yeah, so we did construction and then maintenance as well. So we would do maintenance contracts, and that company. So they had the contract at Florida Atlantic, and then I moved from there up to Mercer in Macon, and I was there another 5 years before getting back to Atlanta when I took a job at Westminster local private school. And then that's what led me over back to Georgia Tech.
Dude, awesome. Now you mentioned Home Depot. That's based in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, no. So yeah, I just was working at a local store, just being that guy at night, didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Dude, it's a great path.
Yeah, no, I actually got fired from there. I dropped a pallet of sheetrock. So that was the real reason I think my dad wanted me to get a job. Yeah, the guy on the truck was like, "Hey, there's an 8-foot section." So I picked it up at 4 feet, and it was 16 foot. So cracked right in half. Before the end of the night, I didn't have a job. So, things happen for a reason, though.
Heck yeah, man. We'll take you in the turf world.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. We like having you here. Well, that's good. So how many years have you been at Georgia Tech now?
In my 11th.
Dude, long time.
Yeah. So I started there. Like I said, I came back to Atlanta. I was working at Westminster private school right in Buckhead. Really, really prestigious school. Been around for a long time.
Was that just athletic turf for you, or was that
the whole campus? So I had all the campus grounds, including athletic fields. 186 acres.
That's big.
Yeah. Now a lot of it was wooded, but we had cross country trails and natural areas, and all of that. So. Job opening came up. I knew John DeWitt that was already at Georgia Tech.
Yes.
He needed a new baseball guy and an assistant. So, I built that relationship up to that point with him. And I think it was, in both of our best interests if I came to Georgia Tech at that time. So
there you go.
Yeah. So then, I worked with him for almost 5 years before he left to go to Alabama. And then when he left, I assumed his duties and was promoted.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. So you've been the top guy there for 5+ years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now describe to us like Georgia Tech's facilities, because it's a city school. It's really in the heart of Atlanta,
Right.
and you've kind of got campuses or all over the place.
Right. It's nice that we're only in charge of the athletic grounds here. If I had to do everything, that would be a whole different story because we are spread out. But, so our athletic complexes, though, our main area would be where the baseball field, practice, football facility, and track field all kind of butt up to each other. And then just right across the road would be where softball is.
You also have a golf short game?
Yes. So well, that's off campus. But yeah, so that one area though, where my shop is kind of centrally located. So we have, football practice, the indoor, the track, baseball, softball on the hill. Half mile down is the football stadium.
Okay.
And then where you're getting at golf. So golf's 3/4 to a mile away. And that is 14 acres. Tom Fazio design. It's wild, it's right in the middle of just office buildings and apartments.
Right.
If you or I go out there, we're breaking a window.
Yeah, for sure.
But these guys are pretty good. We got a good program. But that is a whole nother world in itself over there. I have a full-time crew just there. So
right.
But like you said, we're spread out. I think the biggest challenges for us, like you said, we're in the middle of the city. So it's like each stadium you have to treat like it's its own little professional stadium. Like you have, there's no woods to go dump clippings in. Everything's got to go in a dumpster. I got to manage getting those dumpsters pulled. And then, just getting fertilizer down here can be a nightmare at times, if you got a new driver.
Sure.
An 18-wheeler. So where are we going to unload? How am I going to make this turn? So it's very unique, but I think that set of challenges alone make it, a little bit more fun in the day-to-day. It's not the same, just Groundhog Day that a lot of us groundskeepers go through.
Right.
You never know when someone's going to, get stuck on the 10th Street Bridge and, they have to go help them. Yeah, I don't know, but it makes things interesting for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing that makes it not the same day to day, same day after day is you've got the student schedule.
Right.
Which is fun.
Right. Student athlete schedule. I mean, it's all the college guys know. I mean, we're at their mercy. Whatever they're going to do, they're going to do. It doesn't matter what they said they're going to do last night or 5 minutes ago. Whatever's happening right now is the way it's going to be.
That's it. Now it's August 15th today. You've got, is everybody back?
Yeah. So I think classes start at the end of the month
okay.
I don't keep track of that one as much as I do when week move-in is. I think they're starting to move in right now. It's so nice all summer. Everything's kind of quiet, and then all of a sudden here we go. So it'll take, 45 minutes to get from facility to facility here pretty soon. But, we definitely like the summers when it's calm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Now, let's see. The other thing I want to talk about, you being right there in the city, is that it seems as though anything that comes to Atlanta, it's often that one of your facilities is kind of in the mix. It's like it's involved. Like I'm thinking about the Super Bowl was there a couple years ago, and you hosted a lot.
Right. Yeah. So we were a practice site for the Super Bowl. I don't even remember what year that was now. 2019?
That sounds about right. It was before the pandemic.
So we hosted AFC. We had the Patriots. It was a pretty cool experience. But, at the same time, it's one of those things where, we're trying to put our best foot forward, but we also have everything else going on as well. Like, they're there and, the end of January, beginning of February, which is around the same time baseball and softball practice are starting up. So, thanks to the Super Bowl grounds crew did a lot of the day-to-day for us, the painting and everything. But, so we could manage our other stuff, our actual Georgia Tech work as well. But, we're the host site for any of the football playoff, NCAA playoff Anytime it's in Atlanta, we're going to have practice there.
Mm-hmm.
If the national championship's in Atlanta, we're going to have, host practice. I mean, you'll see a number of NFL teams, if they come in early to play the Falcons, we'll have workouts in our indoor. So, that is extremely unique, and it's a job in itself, managing these external events. We're actually, we did Atlanta United for their inaugural season. I did 9 home games with them back in 2016, I think it was. So, and that was cool. And we're actually doing an international soccer game September 25th.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up. It's Real or Club Mexico, Club Chavas, something like that. But yeah, we got that going on. And, once again, we'll have the playoffs in Atlanta for NCAA football. So we'll be hosting practice for that in December.
Yeah, that's what I love. That's what I think is so cool about Georgia Tech is that, is that it's really in the city, and it's really integrated with the whole Atlanta scene.
Right.
And I think that's awesome.
I think it makes the facilities look really, really special too.
For sure.
You walk into the baseball stadium, you have the whole city skyline behind you. That's pretty unique for college athletics.
Totally unique. You just don't see, usually the big land grant universities are out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's pretty cool. Now, let's see. You talked about your whole history coming through the turf world, all kind of in the Southeast. You made a bold move a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
and so we could guess from your history that you've dealt with a lot of warm season grasses.
Right.
Probably everywhere.
Right. Yeah. I only had bluegrass one time in my life, and that's when I lived in Connecticut for 2 years.
Okay.
I was 12 and 13. So I was just mowing the yard. I didn't know what to do, so
that's right.
But
now how long ago was it? 10 years ago or less? Probably less.
Did we put the bluegrass in?
Yes.
So the bluegrass went in 2019.
Okay, yeah, much less. Yeah. You put a Kentucky bluegrass field on your head baseball stadium.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of a unique story. We never did it to like prove anything or, just be those people. Back in 2013, so we were talking about external events. We filmed a lot of movies here too.
Okay.
So back in 2013, we did a movie called $1 Million Arm. It was a Disney movie. Shooting started at the end of June, went through the end of July. Well, traditionally, if we would have sprayed out, at the end of baseball season, we wouldn't have had anything on that field till September, that would have been presentable.
Good point.
From transitioning. So we had to hold the ryegrass, and we ended up keeping it the entire summer. I think we lost it in like the last week of August to Pythium. But, that kind of got the wheels turning. John DeWitt was in charge then, but I mean, I was running baseball, and we had discussions like, man, I wonder if this could work, and
because let's talk about the inherent challenge of the college baseball season.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of where my thoughts were, he had guys that had worked for him in that role before they had more professional baseball backgrounds. And I was really just tried and true college guy.
Sure.
So like everything I did was based around the college game, like with the cutouts and baselines, and we're going to basically make things wide enough until there's no more wear, which, that's not the norm when you get into professional baseball. So, I knew also the scheduling, the seasons, and I just kept saying to myself, I'm like, there's got to be a way to do this that's better, because all that matters is the fall and the spring, so we're living in this. All we would do is, we're going to overseed as heavy as possible to look good on February 19th. And then all we're going to do during the summer is try to get enough Bermuda to overseed as heavy as possible again in the end of September. So it's just a vicious cycle. It made no sense to me. And you would see what these guys were doing up north with bringing Bermudas in, which was cracking me up. I'm going like, man, there's all these more cold tolerant Bermudas, and here I am going the exact opposite way. Because a lot of people were like, well, why aren't you trying one of those? Cover it with blankets, try to bring it out of dormancy quicker. And I'm like, because half dormant Bermuda is not sexy. Let's be honest. That's not cool. Like,
nope.
So when I think it was when the Washington Nationals redid their field, Precision Turf, who I use for all of my field construction.
Cool.
They were the contractor on the job, and one of the owners, Eric Holland, started talking about HGT Bluegrass because they were installing it there at the time. And and I was like, well, man, I don't think, how much cooler is DC than Atlanta? And he's like, man, I've been working up here. It's about the same, so we started looking at that. And then went back to the thoughts of there's got to be a better way to do this. And I started doing climate research, and Atlanta is almost identical to St. Louis for summertime weather.
Good
St.
call.
Louis will cool down a little bit sooner than we will.
Okay.
But I mean, like right now, the high is 82. Tonight it'll be 60.
Right.
I mean, hot Atlanta is not hot. We'll go through stretches. I think when you were down a few weeks back, it was pretty hot. But
Yes.
we're getting back more. Like our forecast for the next 10 days is what's average here. So
Yeah,
mid-80s, mid-60s.
I mean, we mentioned
today
today
for bluegrass.
Dude, it's very good. This is prime bluegrass weather.
Right.
Honestly, today's the 15th of August, and that's always like that's the date in every turf manager's mind that
Right.
the summer changes. And honestly, it was like kind of right on the money this year.
Mhm.
Like we got our first cool night here in Jersey about 2 nights ago.
Right. And the humidity starts breaking, which I think that's the biggest thing that, we face here is, that humidity. You walk outside in the morning, sometimes it's like you're sweating instantly. And I just feel like the grass never has a chance to just chill, because of it. And it can just be so thick, that air. But, we're lucky having good, airflow through downtown, which is really nice. If I was trying to grow it at my house, it would never work. It's so stagnant and gross, but Atlanta is like a microclimate in itself.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think we don't get as cool during the winter because of all the concrete stays warm. I mean, I would leave my house that's 10 miles north and come to campus and it'd be 10 degrees warmer in the morning during the winter.
Wow.
But it really doesn't change that much during the summer. Like it's not so much hotter in downtown than it is, in the suburbs.
Right.
I think the humidity has a lot to do with that, getting closer to the forest and the trees, holding it in. But so it's very unique climate. And the more digging I did into it, it was very, the exact opposite of what I really thought it was going to be.
Well, now three seasons in, what do you think, and what are some of the challenges that it presents?
Right.
So,
so first 2 years in HDT is supposed to be very tolerant of summer patch. We still got summer patch.
Okay.
And I think learning, getting that timing down with the soil temps, you can't really pay attention to any other area except that field all the time. Like we're out there with the probe every day once we start getting a little bit warm now. I kind of just before was like, it'll probably be like that, that March 15th, we'll just go ahead and spray it then, so I didn't know how, serious and like just, hardcore you had to be about making sure you hit it exactly, which took some getting used to. But
because correct me if I'm wrong, those summer patch sprays you make like 8 weeks before the pressure, right?
Right. So you're doing it like right when it's hitting like 65 degrees soil temp.
Okay.
So, but it's funny because down here it could be 60 degrees soil temp in the morning and 67 in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's
and
tough.
Keep going back and forth for a couple of weeks like that. And then all of a sudden you get a cold snap back with a frost, completely changes. So I think timing those sprays down here are extremely difficult. At least what we figured out. But this past year we did it pretty well. We had zero issues with that.
That's great.
But yeah, so you said 3, going into 4, 4 seasons now. And we're actually getting ready to put it in our softball stadium. So we're rebuilding softball in November and we'll be installing it then over there. So, that's where I'm at. I believe in it that much.
No doubt.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that we found is never put any rye in it.
Make it
so we did that a little bit year 1 to help tack it down because of our sod date being at the end of August.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really worried. I was like, it's too hot. This stuff's not going to root. It's going to be pissed off and just sit here. So I was like, well, ryegrass will grow on concrete. So who cares? We'll try it, So we had, maybe 5 pounds out there year one. Well, then year two was COVID. And then
Yes.
year three, I lost my whole crew because of COVID.
Oh, God.
Guys got jobs. There's plenty of jobs open, out
Right.
there, higher up, better paying. So
Sure.
had to lose everybody and kind of start over. So last summer was probably the most difficult out of all the summers. And it was the
Wow.
coolest just
Yeah.
because I had 2 guys and me, and it was very new to them. And I
Mhm.
still am going to take my normal summer vacation. Well, then I get COVID at the end of the vacation. I end up being out like 5 weeks, so
Oh my
with
God.
2 guys that are, under 25 that have never done what we're doing before.
Oh.
So we got a little thin, but we made it back. But so we ended up throwing probably 8 pounds of rye last fall.
Okay.
Because I was a little worried. I was like, man, I don't know. So
You need color for TV.
right, yeah. I mean, all that matters is it looks good, in January, February, March, April, May. So we went ahead and did that, and we're a little bit thin right now, but we just seeded into it again with we seeded bluegrass 2 weeks ago back into it, and we'll just do that throughout the spring. And I'm not really worried about it. We'll be fine. I mean,
No.
we're going to have a long fall, I think, this year, so we'll be good.
Now, what do coaches, administration, how was their reaction to it?
To the project from the beginning?
Well, yeah, right from the beginning to changing, because what conference are you guys? SEC or
ACC?
ACC. Okay,
Yeah.
so they do see some bluegrass fields, but
yeah, most of those fields are like for baseball would be synthetic in those
Right.
areas.
okay.
So the conversation was first with Coach Hall. Coach Hall's been here for 28 years now. He's the all-time winningest coach that's still coaching. He's the
Right.
active winningest right now. And Coach is from Ohio, and he knows what bluegrass is. He's been on it a ton of times, and we sat
Sure.
down and started talking. I shot him the idea, and he looks over. He's like, "I think you're crazy, but at the same time, you've never let me down. So you're the expert. If you think it'll work, then I'm game." And, part of my pitch to him was like, look, there's only like a handful of Bermuda fields in pro baseball. You don't play the national championship on Bermuda and Omaha. You're playing on bluegrass there. We can look recruit ready 365 days of the year. And that's all that matters in college athletics is that it does not matter if it's December 1, June 1, September 1. If you don't look recruit ready, you got issues, so this was going to make us be able to do that. And so he was on board. Then the next job was going to administration and talking to them, and that was a little bit more difficult. But I have a great relationship with our admin, and they really support me and they trust me. And pretty much came down to, if it doesn't work, what happens? Well, I'm going to need $100,000 to replace it with Bermuda. And they're like, but if it does work, what happens? I go, well, we've kind of just changed some things, and we're going to cut costs here. There's not going to be huge resodding every year. Like we were doing 25,000 square feet when we were overseeding of just Bermuda sod every year. And so I was like, we're going to cut down on that. Fungicides will go up in price, but we're not going to be throwing ryegrass. Well, originally I didn't think we were going to be throwing ryegrass, so saving on that seed.
Well, you didn't throw much.
I didn't throw enough to hurt the budget.
Right.
So, they were like, okay. I mean, we're all about innovation. Georgia Tech's like a top 7 school in the world, public school, and we're an engineering school. And
Absolutely.
It's all about what's next. How do we be better? So they were fully on board with it.
You're right. It could not be at a better place to try something like that. Like this is an innovative institution.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's, a ceiling tile or the field. We want to do what we can, be the most innovative. So
that's right. That's right. Well, that's awesome. You also, it sounded like you knew the key words to talk about. Recruit ready.
Right.
You also, I imagine the camps that you host all summer long, like they had to do a much better time on like a nice fresh bluegrass field.
Right. And we haven't changed any camp schedules. So, I mean, They're running just like they were on Bermuda. We got to move them around and pay a little bit more attention, but it's not too bad.
Oh, that's good, dude. Now, agronomically, you mentioned the summer patch. I mean, well, first of all, you also utilize a lot of EarthWorks products
Oh yeah.
in this program and in establishment. You use Myco under the sod and things like that,
Yeah,
or
we did all of that, the 333. And
hmm
I mean, to be honest, we use 545 like almost exclusively all year round. You
it's a
know,
nice even shot.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you need much more than 545, 2100, and some K mag. I
Yeah,
think you're living pretty good and pretty healthy at that point.
you're exactly right.
Yeah, with some sprayables here. I've always been, spray for show, for go kind of thing.
Yes.
So we'll put in that 555 mix a lot. We
Hmm.
do like that. I love the Protein Plus. We kick flush probably every couple months. We don't do it as much as we used to. It's kind of hard to just get it in sometimes.
Right. And you
But
do it if you
it
need to.
works well for us. Just getting rid of all the salts and everything. But
Right, right. What's your city water?
city water.
Yeah.
I do have cisterns as well.
Oh, interesting.
So it's but my cisterns will flip on or my city water will flip on based on cistern levels as well. So I'm kind of back and forth nonstop.
Those cisterns are probably like an ancient city infrastructure.
So they were put in when we rebuilt the practice field 12 years
Oh,
ago.
okay, not that
But they
old.
got holes in them. I mean, like there's pictures with like people standing in them when they got put in, and you can see sunlight through them. So we've had quite a few sinkholes around them. I don't know if I'm really a cistern guy or not. I just rather run city water.
What was the idea to collect runoff
Yeah,
and
drainage. Yeah, we were coming out of an AC chiller on a building near us, as well as field drainage, downspout drainage throughout that facility right there by baseball.
hmm
We just
hmm
we just can't. I mean, with the weather we've had this summer with all the rain, yeah, we've stayed on it pretty regularly.
Oh, you guys have had a lot of rain in
A lot of
Atlanta?
rain. Last week we had like 7 inches.
Dude, we have
It's been every afternoon.
in here we've had like at my house in Jersey, we've had less than an inch since June.
Wow.
Yeah,
No,
it's
not
nuts.
here. Not here.
Well, that's good. I mean,
Yeah.
either way, you're kind of burned, like too much or too little.
Right. Right. For
But
sure.
if you can handle it, you'll certainly take it.
Right. And all our fields are USGA specs, so the drainage is not
They
an issue.
drain.
I mean, they're dry.
Oh yes.
They're dry.
So what's the schedule for the softball field?
So softball will start last week of October. So in that field, same kind of project we had at baseball. We're going to have to. We're mainly doing it because of organic buildup. That field is now 14 years old, I believe.
Okay.
And we've gotten on a schedule here with the administration, and we're on 10-year rebuilds. So I've gotten it into the master plan that every 10 years, every field gets rebuilt. And when I say rebuilt, I mean we're going back down to clean sand, bringing in new sod, fixing grades, getting everything back as close to original spec as possible. Because we had gotten in a position where we had probably tried to hold off a little too long. Like baseball, it was 22 years, and we had a 6-inch organic layer that was the reason we had to redo the field and renovate, was to get rid of that. We couldn't drain anymore. And on that field on baseball, we'll end up having to probably do the drain lines and everything next, when we redo the field in 29, because now we're talking about a 30-year-old drainage system.
Dude.
But for softball, it'll be a clean strip out, back to clean sand. We'll till that layer just to make sure everything's good and uniform. We'll bring everything back down. We're probably going to come down 4 inches total across the whole field.
Okay, and that'll bring you to what is then?
Yeah, we'll probably be back close
to
to original grade at that point.
Okay.
Because that outfield's at 0% and a 0.75% cone off the infield. So,
oh wow,
yeah, so it's pretty flat. And if you walked out there right now, you'd be like, "Wow, this is not flat anymore." But yeah, so we'll do that. Just a couple little things here and there. We'll do along with the project. All new irrigation. I mean, we're not going to replace lines, but we'll replace all the valves and upgrade, do a HDP manifold, things like that.
What was the Bermuda grass of choice 14 years ago? What's the field now?
Well, so I resided that field with latitude in 2017.
Okay, so it's got
Already done
latitude.
it. Yeah, we we sprayed out, and there was absolutely nothing that year. And I called my boss, and it was right at the end of the budget year. He actually had a little bit of money left over. I was like, "Hey, I need 35 grand right now," and he goes, "All right, fine."
Let's do
So
it.
we made it happen. We sodded it the next day. So we were already sodding the practice field at the same time. So it just made sense.
Do
But yeah,
you
the
find it?
latitude's done well.
Oh yeah, the latitude's a great grass.
And
Now,
that's what we were in the football stadium, and that's what the practice field is currently.
okay. Do you find it interesting how much more biomass the latitude can accumulate compared to the bluegrass?
Yes, but I will
Okay.
tell you something else that's interesting is I've watched bluegrass grow into the latitude.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've
Dude.
seen that just like two pieces of sod laying around next to each other, got left like on, two thick cut pieces we'll leave on concrete. You'll see
Yes.
encroachment. I also saw it at a sod farm out in Memphis that was growing HGT, and the field was right next to a Northbridge field.
Okay.
And the HGT, and this was in the middle of the summer, was crawling into the Northbridge. I was blown away. But
I mean, it's an aggressive creeping grass, the HGT bluegrass, and that's why they choose it, right? They breed it for
right.
that.
I think that and then 365 SS that Mountain View's got out right now are I don't think there's been varieties that good ever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean the 365 SS probably has a little bit finer texture, a little bit better color. But
Okay.
the thing with the HGT is it's got that Barvette variety in there, and that stuff literally is a weed. I mean, it grows uncontrollably all summer. It'll get limey, but I'm like, I don't care if it's limey or not. It's
Right.
just summer.
If
But
it can grow like Bermuda grass in the
right.
summer, we want
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that I wish I could get somebody to blend it all together for me and
That's
get
a good
around all
point.
those little deals with everyone.
It seems as though every time I talk about HGT, the Barvette variety comes up in
And I,
conversation.
and I get Barvette and 365 SS. That's what I need. I need
Ooh,
I need
there
a
you go.
little I need a little working together there by those two families.
Yes, there you go. Now when I was out at the short game facility or the golf facility, you guys were doing some construction over there as well.
Right. Yeah, we
How's
just
that?
did a greens expansion and
Okay.
we expanded the tee boxes as well. We added about 13,000 square foot more greens. And then the tee boxes about doubled in size. But yeah, that's all Tiff Eagle greens.
Oh, right.
So Tiff Eagle greens, Tiff Grand approaches and collars, 419 fairway, Royal Zoysia first cut. It's
Nice.
classic Fazio design. So
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
no, it really is. It's really nice.
And like you said, like it's 15 acres in the middle of
Right.
the city. It's with like apartment buildings around and
Yeah,
everything.
it's insane.
It's a jewel. It's a gem. I mean, it's
It's like the stadium hole at Scottsdale, when they do the
Yes.
TPC. It feels that way, the way it's surrounded. But yeah, no, it's a pretty cool facility. It's always been there, but the way the current footprint and the current facility was rebuilt in 2015, is when
Okay.
we finished that up. So we did like a $13 million renovation to the previous facility. So yeah, it's about as good as it gets. I don't know any other, college that has that facility on campus.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Like especially in the city,
Right.
especially in the city. So let's see. Do you get involved in with the STMA? Do you ever give talks, or if anybody that's listening wants to hear you? I'll also say you have a great Twitter handle and Chris May 117.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I don't even
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, dude, you put out some good stuff. You're a
Yeah,
good
thank
you're a
you.
good voice out there. But no, I'm curious, like, are you I've run into you at STMA conferences, of course. Are you speaking at any of them or?
We just did we had a Georgia STMA, our first event since COVID that we
Okay.
hosted back in our May, I believe it was May, beginning of May. And I spoke there. It's kind of the first time I spoke publicly on some of the bluegrass stuff. I think for me, I really have been trying to collect and compile the info
Mm-hmm.
before I agree to do a big talk, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people raising hands in that room. There's quite a bit of people that think I'm a little crazy for this one, but
Not
proofs and
me.
including, and we're just going to keep doing what we do here. And if it works for us, that's great. I don't think it's the solution for everybody, but it works for us, and that's all that matters to me.
There's, I mean, it's a unique college baseball thing that you start your season in February,
Right.
So like, what can you do? You got to be creative.
Yeah, pray it's warm. I mean, that's about it. But yeah, no, so I spoke at that. We kind of went over it. It was a rushed presentation. We were kind of behind on time that day, but got a few points across. But yeah, no, I plan in the next couple of years to start talking on it more. I think I'll have the info then and the confidence to speak on it as a real thing.
Yeah, you'll have 2 fields on campus
Right.
at that point, and yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Any other interesting side projects coming up on schedule, or like you mentioned, hosting non-athletic stuff?
So we're always looking for concerts. We don't have any on the schedule right now. We have that soccer in September in the state football stadium, and then we'll host Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl practice. Part of the college football playoff, and then we're as soon as fall or spring football's over, we're going to rebuild the practice field. So over the next 12 months, we're rebuilding the softball field, the practice field, and then we're replacing the synthetic turf inside the indoor.
Dude.
So, yeah,
wow.
it's gonna be a gauntlet this year. It's those construction projects are fun, but I mean they'll take a lot out of you with the logistics involved down here. I'm just lucky I have some vendors that have been doing it for me for so long, and I don't really have to babysit them or worry about anything.
For sure. But yes, you're a construction superintendent in the city,
Right.
managing trucks coming in and
Right.
permits and everything.
And there's no general contractor on these jobs because our athletic department's private. Like a lot of them are. I mean, we're a state school, but it's the athletic association. So we kind of can do things the way we want that are not traditional for a lot of state programs. So there's no GC. It's me.
Yeah. So you can do things, but it's all on you.
No, I mean I can hire a GC, but why would I if I can get it done and save us some money there? But
no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, that's interesting, man. Yeah, I feel as though we've gotten to chat about some good stuff. I really wanted to cover that Kentucky Bluegrass field, and that's like it's really cool. I think it's very innovative, and much like for you like you said, you make the choices for your facility, so that's the right choice for there. Much like some guys up north are choosing a Bermuda grass for some specific purpose that they need it there for,
Right.
So yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, good deal, dude. I guess you're back to it. You got the students coming in, and
yeah.
And your labor's been consistent. You feel?
Yeah, no, we're fully staffed now. We have a really, really good crew.
That's good.
A bunch of young guys that really want to get after it. I'm getting to that age where I don't really want to do the labor anymore. So it's good to have guys that are really, excited about doing the job and do a good job at it. So they make my world a lot easier. And allow me to do some other things, for the programs and for my department that usually would get looked past before.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, this was very cool. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and chat with us.
No problem.
Yeah, and of course I appreciate you supporting the product so much and talking. Yeah, man, with the EarthWorks shirt on. Love it.
Send me some more.
Yeah, I'll get you some swag, buddy. That sounds good. All right, all the best, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.